Legally, I'm not allowed to talk about it. But hey. Why not? Basically, at the end of the day, it was crazy.
Just remember everybody, people that were not involved in the scene at all, coming to set that afternoon to see.
Oh no.
And I just remember Karen Parsons, who played Hillary Banks, Karen, Alfonso, just like, and you know, we had our...
Excuse me, but I've got something to tell you first. Thank you for ruining my...
Tatyana Ali just blew the lid off Will Smith in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it changes everything. What we all thought was a close, fun-loving TV family. Turns out it was held together by secrets, pressure, and behind-the-scenes power plays that nobody dared to talk about. Until now. We're diving deep into the hidden chaos, starting with Will Smith's silent struggles. Before The Fresh Prince ever hit the airwaves, Will had zero plans of becoming a sitcom star. He was already making waves in music as part of DJ Jazzy Jeff and The Fresh Prince. Their album, He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper, went triple platinum, and they even snatched a Grammy. Will was riding high, young, rich, and wild with his spending. Cars, jewelry, designer fits, he wanted it all. But he didn't think twice about saving or paying taxes. The IRS came knocking hard, and Will found himself nearly $3 million in debt. They didn't play around. They swooped in and grabbed his cars, his furniture, his bank accounts, everything. One day, he was living like a king. The next, he was flat broke. And it got worse. His second album, Tanked Money, dried up, and Will, at just 21, was stuck, broke, and famous. That's when he met music exec Benny Medina, who had a wild idea for a sitcom based on his own life, growing up in East LA and then moving in with his rich relatives in Beverly Hills. Quincy Jones jumped in to back the project and fast-tracked Will's audition. Will barely had any acting experience. He got the role after a rushed tryout at Quincy's house. Just like that, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was born.
How come you don't want me, man?
On screen, Will looked confident and carefree, but behind the smile, he was drowning. For the first 3 years of the show, the IRS was snatching 70% of every paycheck. This wasn't some dream gig for Will, it was survival. He wasn't just acting for fun, he was hustling to dig himself out of a financial hole. While millions laughed along with the show, Will was carrying a mountain of stress just trying to get through it. Tatyana Ali, who played Ashley Banks, joined the cast at just 11 years old. For her, the set was a place full of big chances, but also serious grown-up tension. Even though she was young, she could feel something wasn't right. The smiles and jokes on screen masked a lot of real-life pressure.
All right, I open the door to Dwayne's dressing room, and that's when I see Dwayne and having anal with Will.
Let me process that for a second.
There was a couch, and Will was bent over on the couch, and Dwayne was standing up, killing him.
Looking back, she said the environment had its warm moments, but it was also intense. There was so much riding on the show, and everyone knew it. Tatyana didn't know the full story behind Will's struggles at the time, but she could sense it. He was always grinding, always locked in. The Fresh Prince wasn't just a breakout moment for Will, it was his last shot at climbing out of a personal and financial disaster. Every laugh, every episode was fueled by the fact that most of his money was going straight to the government.
And I went back to them in 2009 and I said, please, I need you to clear my name.
You talked to him directly?
I spoke to JL when my dad died.
While fans were loving the show, the behind-the-scenes vibe was a whole different story. Things hit a boiling point at the end of season 3 when something major went down. The original Aunt Vivian, played by the fierce Janet Hubert, was suddenly gone. No warning, no explanation, just gone. In came Daphne Maxwell Reid to take her place. But that quiet cast switch, it hid one of the nastiest, longest-running feuds in TV history between Janet Hubert and Will Smith. Janet wasn't just any actress, she was trained, powerful, and brought real depth to Aunt Viv. Her version of the character was bold, smart, and unforgettable. But behind the scenes, it was a mess. According to Janet, the tension between her and Will got so bad it pushed her off the show. In multiple interviews, including a tell-all in Jet magazine back in '93, Janet didn't hold back. She said Will used his clout to get her removed. She claimed he had the power to control who stayed and who got cut, and made sure she was shown the door. He made it clear I was no longer welcome, as she revealed. Janet Hubert didn't hold back. She straight up called the Fresh Prince set toxic. She said the moment she started speaking out about unfair treatment, folks slapped the difficult label on her like a warning sign. According to her, the spotlight got sucked up by Will Smith, leaving the rest of the cast in the shadows. She felt like Will didn't want to share the fame. And it got personal real quick. Her contract? Another mess. She claimed they hit her with an offer that not only cut her pay big time, but also blocked her from taking other jobs. And to top it off, she was pregnant when it happened. Hubert said it felt like a setup. She refused to sign it. And just like that, she was out. Meanwhile, Will Smith had his own version. He said Janet brought too much drama and tension to the set. In a 1994 radio interview, he accused her of wanting the whole show to center around her character. He even dropped a bomb of his own, calling her the Antichrist of their working relationship.
Oh, they came to get their money, and I didn't have it, so they took everything. Really?
That harsh line stuck with Janet for decades. It cut deep. Most of the cast stayed quiet through all of it, but Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton, sided with Will. In a stand-up routine, he even called Janet crazy, throwing more heat on a fire that never really died down. The fallout wrecked Janet's career. She couldn't land steady TV work for years. Hollywood had labeled her a problem. Her story became a symbol of how black women in the industry get punished for speaking up. Hubert always stood her ground. She wasn't going to shrink herself just to keep others comfortable. Fast forward to 2020, and everything finally came to a head. During the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion special, Will and Janet came face to face for the first time in nearly 30 years. It was raw, emotional, and overdue. Will admitted he had been immature and blind to the pain he'd caused. Janet opened up about the heavy hurt she carried all those years. It didn't erase the past, but it gave both of them a moment of real closure. Meanwhile, Tatyana Ali, sweet, soft-spoken Ashley Banks, had her own awkward moment on set, and it was major. Her very first kiss. What should have been a special personal milestone turned into a cringe-worthy disaster. Why? Because her co-stars turned it into a full-on public show. In a 2018 interview with Us Weekly, Tatyana shared the moment that still haunts her. She was gearing up for her first kiss, nervous but ready. Then out of nowhere, Alfonso Ribeiro and Karen Parsons, who played her on-screen siblings, showed up on set. They weren't even supposed to be there.
And those things never happened. She never left the set. I never left the set. We got along great. I think he was young and he was inexperienced, and I think he simply had to win.
There she was, surrounded by giant sitcom cameras and unexpected guests, about to have one of the most private moments of her young life. Tatyana said, "I just remember Alfonso and Karen standing there with the cameras, and on sitcoms, the cameras are like huge cameras. I just remember them looking behind the camera." Her heart sank. "Who has their first kiss like that?" she asked. At that moment, she felt so embarrassed, she admitted, "I wanted to die."
And I went back to them in 2009 and I said, please, I need you to clear my name.
You talked to him directly?
I spoke to JL when my dad died in my...
It was rough, but time moved on, and so did she. By 2013, Tatyana had grown up and become way more comfortable talking about life and love. In a candid HuffPost interview, she joked about how her thoughts on relationships had shifted. She even playfully called one-night stands her guilty pleasure, right next to bread pudding. Who doesn't love bread pudding? She laughed. Tatyana took the awkwardness and turned it into growth. She's no longer the shy kid in oversized hats. She's a confident grown woman who laughs off the awkward stuff and owns her journey. But while some of the cast used the end of the show to branch out into new lanes, it didn't play out that way for Alfonso Ribeiro. He quickly found out that being Carlton Banks, the lovable, goofy cousin with the legendary dance moves, was both a blessing and a curse. The role that made him famous and also had him stuck. Alfonso Ribeiro blew up as Carlton Banks, but after the Fresh Prince wrapped, everything came to a screeching halt. Just like Will Smith, he was a household name. But unlike Will, Hollywood didn't come knocking with blockbuster scripts and movie deals. They didn't want the real Alfonso. They just wanted more Carlton, and that messed everything up. He's been straight up honest about it too.
I just remember people that were not involved in the scene at all, coming to set that afternoon to see.
Oh no.
And I just remember Karen Parsons, who played Hillary Banks, Karen, Alfonso, and we had.
In a 2024 interview with Closer Weekly, Alfonso admitted the truth that fans never saw coming. Playing Carlton was both the best and worst thing to ever happen to him. "It was one of the greatest roles I was ever fortunate enough to play," he said. "But it was also the role that stopped me from acting again because people couldn't see me as anything else." And this wasn't just some quiet complaint. Alfonso aired out his feelings online too. When someone on X, formerly Twitter, said Tyler Perry should revive his career, Alfonso didn't hold back. He clapped back with one cold line. "I don't need or ever want that man to do anything for me." Boom, the timeline exploded. People started speculating like crazy. One fan posted, "Alfonso doesn't seem like an unreasonable or unnecessarily abrasive guy." There must be a reason for that kind of reaction. Another chimed in. Tyler didn't offer his stumpy, frumpy A-glass anything, so the comment was unnecessary. Then came the real eyebrow raiser. Sounds like Tyler tried to party with him back in the day, and Alfonso had to tell him no.
I just remember them like looking behind the camera like, and now it's like a fun, you know.
Sure, now it's funny.
I mean, who has a first kiss like that?
Right.
At the time, I wanted to kill him.
Of course, nobody really knows what went down. Alfonso never spilled more tea, and Tyler Perry stayed silent. But one thing's for sure, Alfonso wants no part of anything Tyler's got going on. And that says a lot considering how many actors would jump at any chance to work with Tyler just to stay in the game. After Fresh Prince, Alfonso slowly faded from the acting scene. Instead, he leaned into something new, hosting. He directed a few episodes of shows like Young and Hungry and Casey Undercover, but the spotlight had shifted. Alfonso found his groove on stage, not on screen. Now most folks recognize him as the smooth, upbeat host of America's Funniest Home Videos and Dancing with the Stars. Hosting gave him the fresh start he needed. No more Carlton jokes, no more typecasting. Just Alfonso doing his own thing, finally being seen for who he is. Still, he hasn't closed the door on acting completely. In that same 2024 interview, he said, "I'm enjoying being a host and I'm very happy with it."
Hey, young man, come on over. My husband just wants to touch you for a little while on camera. I promise you, you won't feel a thing. Sniff this.
But yes, I would go back to acting if it was exactly the right thing. But let's be real, exactly the right thing does not include Tyler Perry. Whether it's beef, business, or something deeper, Alfonso's made it crystal clear. He's not interested. And judging by the buzz online, folks are convinced there's way more to that story than he's letting on. But Alfonso wasn't the only one still carrying the Fresh Prince weight long after the credits rolled. While he was trying to break free from the Carlton box, Will Smith was haunted by something way heavier, his past. For Alfonso, it was about escaping a character. But for Will, it was about escaping trauma. And this wasn't just made-for-TV drama, it was real. The show always played up the culture shock between West Philly and Bel-Air, but for Will, that wasn't just a storyline. That was his life. Behind all the laughs and slick suits, Will was holding on to some deep pain. In multiple interviews, Will's opened up about the dark side of his childhood. The most heartbreaking? The night he saw his dad hit his mom so hard she collapsed. He was just 9 years old. And that one moment, it never left him. That scene lived in his head for decades. Whether he knew it or not, it shaped everything. How he moved in relationships, how he chased fame, and even his obsession with being seen as perfect. While Fresh Prince was blowing up, Will was drowning his past with work nonstop. Every move Will Smith made, every role, every red carpet, every interview, wasn't just about fame. It was about proving something bigger, that he could rise above everything he came from. On the surface, he was winning. A smash TV show, a rising movie career, and the title of one of the most lovable stars in Hollywood.
All right, I open the door to Dwayne's dressing room, and that's when I see Dwayne and having a Will.
Let me process that for a second.
There was a couch, and Will was bent over on the couch, and Dwayne was standing up, killing.
But that smile, it was a mask. Deep down, Will never stopped running from the pain he saw as a kid, and that pain came flooding out in one unforgettable scene. How come he don't want me, man? That moment, that wasn't just acting, that was release. Years of hurt, buried deep, came pouring out, live on national television. That scene hit fans hard because it was real. For once, Will dropped the armor and let the world see the brokenness underneath. But even showing that kind of raw emotion didn't stop the critics. Some of his co-stars said he blew up too fast, and started acting like the whole set revolved around him. And maybe it did. Will was the star. His fame skyrocketed while others faded to the background. As his movie career exploded, the vibe on set changed. Will wasn't just the funny kid from Philly anymore. He had become a brand, a powerhouse, and not everybody was cool with that. But all that tension, it was nothing compared to the whispers that came years later, the ones that made people stop and really look at the image Will had spent decades building. He had the perfect package, box office hits, major awards, and what looked like an unshakable marriage. But the closer folks looked, the more cracks they found. The real story, the one behind the cameras, started creeping out, and it wasn't always pretty. For years, Will played the Hollywood game like a pro. He gave the world what it wanted, the smooth-talking charmer, the action star, the family man, but the bigger his public image grew, the harder it got to keep the personal stuff locked down. Then came the deeper digging, especially around his longtime ties with Sean Diddy Combs. At first, it was just a few pictures. Will and Diddy sharing laughs at parties, hanging close at exclusive after-hours events. But when Diddy's scandals exploded, the spotlight turned, and Will's name came up more than once. One of the biggest shockers? A resurfaced 2023 interview with Keith D, the same man tied to the Tupac Shakur case. He claimed he saw Will and Jada at one of Diddy's now infamous freak-off parties. And those parties?
Yeah, it's just like a bunch of weird shit. That whole fucking, yeah, that shit weird, dude. Yeah, bunch of, it ain't right.
They weren't your regular celeb hangouts. According to multiple insiders, these gatherings were wild. Drugs flowing, people doing all kinds of unfiltered acts, and cameras hidden everywhere. Former bodyguards even said some of that footage was used to control people, hold their careers hostage, and once Will's name got tied to that world, the internet lost it. People were asking, what was he doing there? Was he just an invited guest amount of something else? And the whispers didn't stop there. Jaguar Wright jumped in claiming that Will and Jada were throwing their own wild parties, targeting up-and-coming young celebs. That accusation alone was enough to stir chaos. Then came the bomb that truly shook fans. Will's former assistant, Bilal, a man who worked with him for over 40 years, did an interview with Tasha K, and what he claimed was jaw-dropping. He said he personally walked in on Will and actor Dwayne Martin during an intimate encounter inside a dressing room. This wasn't internet gossip. This wasn't fan theories. This was a direct claim from someone who had been in Will's inner circle for decades, and it blew up. Jada Pinkett Smith fired back fast. She hit the Breakfast Club and called the claims ridiculous and malicious. She swore it was an extortion setup and even said legal action was on the table. But here's where things got strange. But here's the twist. No lawsuit ever came. No cease and desist, no court filings, nothing. And this is coming from a couple who's definitely lawyered up before. That silence, it made things feel even more suspicious. Then came another bomb from Keith D, the same guy tied to the Tupac case. He claimed he saw Will and Jada at one of Diddy's infamous Illuminati-style parties. According to him, the whole vibe was off. Strange people, strange energy, dark undertones. It ain't right, you know what I'm saying, he said, and he wasn't alone. Gene Deal, Diddy's former security, claimed those parties weren't just wild, they were monitored. He said Diddy's homes were wired with hidden cameras, not for safety, but allegedly for blackmail. According to Gene, everything was taped. Who came in, what they did, and with who. And here's the kicker. Federal agents have reportedly seized those tapes as part of the ongoing investigation into Diddy's alleged underground empire. That's where things take a scary turn for Will Smith. Whispers online, and a now deleted video clip that briefly surfaced, claimed Will allegedly appears on one of those seized tapes. The footage was yanked fast, like real fast. But before it vanished, some users swore it showed Will caught up in one of Diddy's freak-off parties. Was it real? Was it fake? We don't know. But what's got everyone talking is the fact that Team Smith stayed completely quiet. No denials, no lawsuits, not even a comment. And then there's Orlando Brown. Yeah, he's unpredictable, but he's made the same claim over and over that both Will and Diddy groomed him when he was younger. It sounds wild, but he's not the only one saying things like this anymore. Then, in December 2024, Will finally snapped. During a live event in San Diego, he hit the stage looking agitated, pacing, talking fast, visibly done with the internet chatter. I haven't addressed any of this publicly, he said, voice sharp. Y'all can stop all that BS. He shouted, I ain't been nowhere near no damn freak off. I ain't been near that man, didn't do none of that stupid-ish. The crowd didn't know how to react. Then, trying to lighten the mood, he joked about those thousands of bottles of lubricant reportedly found at Diddy's properties. That didn't help. In fact, it made it worse. Clips of the moment spread like wildfire. People weren't focused on the denial. They were focused on why he had to say anything at all, why his name was even in this mess to begin with. And now, after decades of carefully curated smiles, box office gold, and that squeaky clean Fresh Prince image, Will's brand is cracking. The polished persona from the 90s is starting to look more like a mask than a mirror, because the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it wasn't just a fun, feel-good sitcom, it was a pressure cooker, loaded with secrets, egos, trauma, and survival. Will Smith became the face of a generation. But behind the charm and charisma was a man haunted by pain, scrambling to keep a flawless image alive. Meanwhile, his co-stars, Janet, Alfonso, Tatyana, were carrying their own scars. Broken friendships, smashed careers, pain that nobody saw until now. And finally, the truth is bubbling up. What we laughed at on TV, the cast lived through for real. If this shook you like it shook us, hit that like, drop a comment, and share this video with someone who still sings that theme song like it's 1995. And don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories and wild truths from behind the camera. We'll see you on the next one, because this is far from over.